and Happy New Year. I'm Glenna Milberg. Grateful we are starting out the year together. 2022 had its challenges. Today we thought we would look ahead. Priorities, progress, and predictions for the new year. And to that end, every county mayor in South Florida, all three, are here together. To launch this week in South Florida 2023, we have all the South Florida county mayors here, and we usually talk about the big news of the week, but today let's have a big conversation about where we all are and where we are all going. Welcome to Miami-Dade Mayor Daniella Levine Cava, Broward Mayor Lamar Fisher, and Monroe County Mayor Craig Cates. So good to have everybody together.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
With you, Glenna, always.
Always. So let's start out with, we've predetermined we're going by county population to start the show. So I want to get a sense of, you know, we're all listening, everyone here listening today, you represent. That's what I love about this program today. Let's get a sense of just, is there, of all of the big issues that we all face in South Florida every day, is there one particular thing that jumps out as we start 2023 that is the priority? Daniella Levine Cava, what's up in Miami-Dade?
It's got to be affordability, Glenna. We are really the beneficiary of huge economic recovery and growth and extraordinary demand for our housing. And with limited space, we are unfortunately making it increasingly difficult for our working families to be able to afford to stay here, live here, work here. And so we've been working aggressively, and going into 2023, a lot of our programs will be coming to fruition to provide relief to strapped renters and homeowners.
Definitely on the list to talk about in the next 20, 30 minutes or so. Lamar Fisher, in Broward, I'm guessing such similar things. What's the priority?
It is housing affordability, as the mayor had mentioned, and how we're going to continue to provide the opportunities for our families to be able to live in Broward County, and actually all counties here in South Florida. So it's a challenge. We have a housing trust fund that we have developed. We were able this year to put in about almost $60 million in that trust fund to be able to provide some funding availability to those developers, and also to be able to increase some density in certain areas that will provide housing for our folks. But without a doubt, it is absolutely the #1 priority. I'm
going to guess that, you know, nationwide, we're going to hear all of that. And interesting that in South Florida, we face, again, so many common problems. The Keys, Monroe County, it's kind of, you know, the rules are sometimes different there. A lot of things are just different just to the county below. But Mayor Craig Cates, affordability, housing, that's always been an issue in the Keys. And what is the priority right now?
Well, that would be our #1 priority. It's affordable housing, affordable living, as one mayor stated. And sea level rise goes right along with our affordable housing, because we can't build our way out of this in the Keys, because we don't have more land to build on. So we only have a few hundred, I think 700 ROGO units left to even build in Monroe County. So we have to look at it a little bit different and come up with creative, thinking out of the box ways to address our issues.
So, you know, now that we have a trifecta, let's start really digging into, you know, affordable housing is the title and the buzzword and the quote unquote, but that encompasses so much, because affordable housing means rents that people can pay. It means rising costs of living in a house you already have, and the recently passed property insurance laws are not going to really make a dent in that problem for at least a year or two, as we hear. And it means people buying their first home and starting the ability to make investments. So please don't wait for Q&A, because I think, you know, with the brain trust we have here, I'd love to hear you discuss. Daniella, since you brought it up, and I hope you don't mind first name basis, that's how we roll here. The affordable housing in Miami-Dade literally does not exist for many people. And I know there are so many programs going on. Is that enough to really fill the need?
No, what we're doing is aggressive and bold, unprecedented, historic, but it's not enough. So we've got here we are the most unaffordable place in the country. So along with being the most recovered economy, the biggest gap for those paying more than what's recommended, a third of their salary, more than 50% of their salary, the most housing burdened and extremely housing burdened place in the country. So really, we can't build fast enough our way out of this. We have to densify, we have to subsidize, we have to incentivize. And we're doing all of that in partnership with the private sector. This year's $10 billion budget in Miami-Dade includes a whopping $500 million for housing. It's really unprecedented. And in that are many new programs. We invested $80 million new dollars in something called Homes, which includes helping homes stay affordable. So maybe they're needing renovations. We don't want the owners to be incentivized to flip them and redevelop. So we want to give them money, actually grants, to shore up roofs, windows, etc., and keep the housing affordable. That's one aspect. Another, we're actually subsidizing landlords to bring prices within reach for the middle class, working class, all the way up to 140% of area median income. So,
I want to, you brought up landlords. I want to talk about a story that we recently covered about one building, and I do know of others, we just haven't covered them yet, where landlords and owners find themselves with an old building in a really hot neighborhood and have summarily ended leases for people under the guise of being an unsafe building. And, that's a component of affordable housing that we're really not talking about. Have you had that, Lamar, Craig, Daniella, have you had that problem where people are being kicked out of what is their affordable home by, I don't want to use the word greedy because I don't want to sign intent, but what appears to be greedy landlords?
We do have dollars specifically, and we have done aggressive outreach. We can't force a landlord to take our money and maintain affordability, but we do have landlords who are ready to accept dollars to fix up, patch up, and they'll continue to make money, make a profit, but they won't be making the profit that they would make if they leveled and started from scratch.
Lamar, Craig, are you hearing the same? Are you experiencing the same?
We are in Broward County, and even going step back a little bit further, we have landlords that are available to us to have the rapid housing opportunities for those who actually are experiencing homeless, so we can get them off the street into the rapid housing. And we're lucky to have those landlords, but we don't have enough of them. And unfortunately, market rate rentals today are taking precedence with the private sector. So how do we incentivize them? How do we give them dollars when they create new projects, again, through the trust fund, but more importantly, providing the opportunity for the municipalities to participate to create, again, more opportunities for more density, to at least have that project 10 or 15% affordable and have a truly mixed use, retail, market rate, and affordability. So we're trying to be creative in every way we can, but the numbers are just tough to reach at this particular time. I think our median household at this point sales $560, $575, and it's totally just unaffordable for young families. And see how much money you're going to have to actually make to even make that mortgage payment is just outrageous.
And this is happening in a nationwide cool down in the housing market. So South Florida really has, there's two sides to the coin for South Florida not being in a housing cool down at the moment. Craig and Monroe, you brought us something really interesting in that sea level rise is such a component of a lot of things, but certainly of being able to live on an island chain. What are you experiencing?
Well, we're experiencing, affordable housing issues just like everybody else, but the sea level rise is taking away a lot of the properties that would possibly be built on. And then a lot of the houses that are low, which have to be replaced or can't get flood insurance now, are the affordable units. So a lot of these poor condition places, as the other mayors have talked about, are kind of de facto affordable housing because they're in bad condition. When the property owner tries to improve it, his costs go way up and he has to raise the price. Insurance is high, building in the Keys, you got to, and Miami, and you have to build for 180 mile an hour winds and elevate them. It's very expensive to build like that. So we got to think outside the box. Hopefully maybe downstairs enclosures, we could bring some of them back, waterproof them, limit the size of them, but we need to think of a way to, so we will not have an economy in the Lower Keys because we need the workers. We bring in about 1,000 workers a day from Miami and Homestead to the Upper Keys, working with Miami-Dade with the bus service. And then we bus from Key West to Marathon, a bus service to bring workers from Marathon to Key West. We're losing our local families because of the cost. And just as Mayor Broward County said, the minimum price of a house, families can't afford it, so they don't want to live in an apartment the rest of their life either. So these are all issues that we have to deal with every day.
And in addition,
Mayor Gates, just think about that what you just said about having to transport these workers and service workers to your communities. Just think about their lives and how they have to get up so early, and they have to travel, and they have to work, and then yet there's no time for their families. So the stress amongst that alone is just mind-boggling to me.
it really is. That's a commute. Essentially, it is a housing issue and a commute issue. Go ahead.
Okay, one more comment on that. Those workers will not be long-term because they can't sustain that for a long period of time. They'll do it for a while, and that makes it much more difficult for the employers because they're constantly having to turn over employees and training them. So it just snowballs and gets worse and worse. So we need to address it.
The conversation continues. We take a quick break and turn our focus to something we all endure together every day. Traffic, the commute. What's in the works to make it better? We'll be right back. I don't think there's one person listening to us and having this conversation who hasn't very recently, possibly over the last week, sat in traffic and horrendous traffic. And I know each of the counties have a strategic plan and a long-term transportation plan. The fact is that South Florida is built on cars. And Daniella, in Miami-Dade, there's been so much work and so much planning, and we're watching it going up, a double-decker highway and new bus fleet, and in Broward, Brightline train work to finesse some train stations there. But South Florida is built on people who drive cars. And I wonder, Daniella, if you can kick us off into, is there any hope in 2023 that sitting in back of someone's taillights is going to be an experience that goes away soon?
Yes, I think the car culture is shifting if we have good alternatives. So we really have to kind of switch our mentality by creating good transit that is reliable, affordable, gets you where you want to go. And we have a very aggressive plan, of course, in Miami-Dade, which is now the SMART program, with the Aventura Brightline station opening up. That's a piece of the puzzle. We have new express bus service on 836 going from the west. That is a game changer for people who need to get from way west to downtown. The South Dade Transitway bus rapid transit stations are under construction. Everybody can see it, and it's building hope and bringing smiles to commuters all around. And the North Corridor, we finally see a path to get federal dollars for extension of Metro Rail North, and that would go to Hard Rock and beyond. It's an inter-county opportunity, and we are in conversations as well with Broward. And finally, Miami Beach, which has been very elusive, the so-called Bay Link. And we are pulling back a procurement and redoing with the expectation we can have a one-seat ride on the Metro Mover, which is the downtown loop. I'm very excited. We have a great new transportation director who really knows transit. We've been able to reassess some of the plans from before. And, these things don't happen quickly, but they are happening.
And the devil is absolutely in the details. And all right, so I'm in Miami-Dade, and I get on a train, and Mayor Craig Cates is coming up from Monroe, and he gets on a train somewhere in South Dade, and he takes it up to Broward and gets where he wants to go. Maybe he gets on a bus and gets halfway to his destination. It is the real issue in that, how do you get people to where they're going? not in a general sense from north, south, or east or west, but we have no subway where I can get out at a stop and walk a block and be where we're supposed to be. So
Oh.
is that the challenge?
I just want to say last mile. We have these circulators and other things that are proving very popular. It's actually the area of transit that is growing most rapidly. These little freebies that are in some of the smaller cities along the transit routes, Cutler Bay, Palmetto Bay, Pinecrest.
Aventura has a freebie. I've seen that, yeah.
And people are using it to do routine trips around town, but also to connect to transit corridors.
Lamar,
And I think too, Glenna, I think one piece that, and Miami-Dade's been so aggressive too in completing an agreement that our East Coastal Link is going to be coming on Broward County, which will, in Aventura will pick up in Broward and move all the way to the Palm Beach County line on the East Railroad, the FEC. That's going to be a game changer in our plans as we work forward and towards with FDOT and ultimately get across the New River. But I think that transportation component will help, and the surtax that we passed in 2018 will help fund that. But it's going to be 2025, 2026, I think it is when it's going to be completed. But I think that's going to get folks out of the cars too. And I think what Mayor Levine Cava said, the mentality I think is changing with our millennials and so forth that are going to want to live near the transit stations that are going to be provided by the East Coast opportunity for the Coastal Link. And I think that's going to get them out of their cars and maybe not even have to even purchase a car with the insurance and so forth. And the last mile opportunity that you have within our stations is going to be helpful as well for those. And even at night, of course, the folks can entertain and they can use that last mile transportation opportunities to get them out of the cars and being able to participate in our businesses and our restaurants.
So this will be really interesting because we'll check back at the end of 2023 and see how many people really took that leap and got out of the car and started using all of these opportunities to sort of rethink transit. You know, I wanted to bring up something a little more newsy and of the moment, and especially Craig Cates in Monroe County, we've been seeing such a surge in migrant landings, and especially a couple of weeks ago when Title 42, the public health reason for barring migrants for entry was, it's still in place, but there was a day where there was a court decision coming where it might not have been. And you saw that there was a real crowd surge of migrants trying to get in. South Florida is and has always been ground zero for those fleeing for whatever reason. And I wonder, Craig, if you can start us off and sort of address what is a federal issue, but certainly a county issue, because in the humanitarian sense, absorbing, caring for, housing, and providing infrastructure and process for migrants. How is that happening in the Keys?
Yes, that's a huge burden on Monroe County and all our law enforcement agency, FWC, the Coast Guard, Customs Border Protection. The migrants coming in by boat have increased unbelievably, and to some weeks it was like 400 in 1 week they had down there. It was unbelievable. But that being said, and it's a dangerous crossing. It isn't like they can they're walking and they're safe. The weather gets bad. They're out in these small boats that aren't barely even seaworthy. So there's been accidents. They've lost some of the refugees, the migrants, they've drowned. So then that has to be addressed by the local governments. And then when they reach shore, then we have to take care of them. And also the boats that are coming ashore, washing ashore, damaging the seabeds. Now, there's a process in the state of Florida to remove them. Takes quite a while. Well, looks like they're going to be able to waive that because they can't really identify any owners. And they're going to start removing them next week. And there's $1 million funding from the state to start removing it. Because we work so hard to protect the reefs, and then they're being damaged by these boats, but the people are trying to come over here and have a better life. So I'm curious, we all are down here, how Title 42 being removed, what is going to happen with the Cuban refugees trying to come across for a better life.
Daniella, Lamar, you want to add to that?
Well, we certainly are watching this with great concern. We've had numerous meetings with the White House, with Customs and Border Patrol, with Immigration Services, et cetera. We know that we are the place that many of these immigrants want to be. They have family and cultural connections. So we've been able to absorb with the help of our nonprofit community, but we recognize that this is potentially something that could inundate us. So like other places around the country, we are preparing.
And I'm guessing Broward has, just to be part of the South Florida megalopolis,
If
similar.
I could just add, Glenna, I'm reflecting that in my administration, now 2 years old, we've created new offices to deal with these emerging issues. So we have the first Office of New Americans that's very actively engaged in our immigration issues. We have an Office of Housing Advocacy to help people navigate the new programs, and also eviction prevention, which we've been very, very diligent in preventing tens of thousands of evictions. So as challenges emerge, and of course we have aggressive economic development plans, et cetera, as do the other counties. So we are a region. We just finished our climate compact meeting for the region. We work as one to deal with the issues of climate and sea level rise, as was mentioned by Mayor Case, because we really are all in it together.
We truly are at the end of the day, and also those who come to this country, and land on our shores, they are human beings. And so we need to do what we can to help them in any way, shape, or form. So as we work collectively together as mayors through our counties, I know we are conscious of that. We want to make sure that we can help them in any way possible.
100%.
I'd like to just make one comment on that. The Cubans, refugees that are coming in, there are a lot of Haitians also coming, but most of them all want to go to Miami. They have a lot of family there, and also that I know they're coming into Keys, and we have to address that, but they do want to go to Miami, in that area where they have family and friends. So that all the ones that are coming in down here end up there in Dade and Broward County, so it affects them too.
Yes, well, another quick break, and when we come back, some New Year's predictions we can take into 23. Stay tuned. I want to, in the short time we have left, just a little bit of fun. We're all about spreading the love here. So take, 20, 30 seconds and give us sort of the crystal ball, one prediction for 2023. Madam Mayor. You're the only woman, so Madam Mayor would be you.
I am very excited that we are going to truly be able to create the pipeline for great jobs with the new companies coming and expanding. So we're focused squarely on pipeline to those jobs. And my prediction is that we are going to really succeed in getting more of our local people on board, and that the rising tide here will truly raise all boats.
Lamar Fisher.
I think the mayor's spot on, but I think also when you deal with jobs, we have now the Allen B. Levine NSU Innovation Center that's going to incubate businesses to obviously work with corporate other entities to create those jobs. And I think what our focus is now is growing our small businesses, being able to create those jobs, and obviously opportunities for South Florida to continue to grow. Whether we have a little dip, I'm not sure about that as far as the economy, but I think we will continue to thrive. And so we look forward to making the job creation and making our folks to get to work and to be able to afford, hopefully, housing opportunities.
Was that a prediction?
That's my prediction.
I'll take that as a prediction. Craig Cates, Monroe Mayor, predict me something.
Well, I'm predicting that we will win with these issues that we're having. I think we had the climate summit, and I've been going to there for 13 years. What I said was the most exciting part about it was that the private sector is getting involved now, having solutions to address these issues. The governments can't fix all this. We need to work closely with the private sector, just like the other mayors have been saying they have. So I think when we start working together, we're going to be able to address all these issues and come out the other side much better.
Well, I think for everyone listening, we all have to love the optimism as we launch into this year. Happiest of New Year's to you all. I'm so thrilled that you were able to join us. And open invitation. I mean, I know Craig Cates, this was your first time. I hope you had some fun with us. And,
I sure did. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And we will have all the mayors back, hopefully lots of times during 2023. Thank you so much.
Look forward to it.
All the best.